Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm not sure where I'm going to be putting this video yet, if this is going to be part of my mental health well-being weekend away or if I'm going to do this as a separate video. But I've been doing a fair bit of writing now that I'm away, and I just thought I'd share some of it with you, and as I feel like I'm never going to get around to typing it up and putting it in a blog or anything, and I like sharing what I've written, and I just want to be really open as well about what I'm kind of going through mentally at the moment. So I am just going to be reading off of what I've written down today, but this bit is about high standards. So I said, I often set myself high standards in order to prove myself to others. Achieving such high standards also boosts my self-esteem. I sometimes set my own standards too high, which results in dissatisfaction and a suffering to my well-being. Having somewhat high expectations can, however, motivate me to work hard and challenge myself. The advantages of me changing or lowering my standards will be that I would relax a bit more and learn to accept myself as I am, and that what I'm doing is enough. Finding out what my key fear would be should I fail to meet these standards should encourage me to identify a more helpful alternative standard. For example, I feel the need to constantly be doing well and achieving things. The key fear here that this triggers is that I'm not good enough, inferior to others, and that I won't be liked by others. A more helpful standard would be that constantly thriving all the time is not sustainable, and that just being and doing the minimum is enough. I can still achieve things without the presence of high expectations. Mistakes and failed expectations and standards are an important part of learning. Constantly focusing on achievement is not sustainable. In order to accept this, I have to find ways in which I can stay calm and content. A lot of this comes down to being more self-compassionate. So, I need to set more manageable standards, reframe negative thinking with compassion, do things for pleasure only, create a balance between achieving and relaxation. For reassurance, I said, you cannot be productive 24/7. Practicing self-compassion is really important. Just being is enough. There's always room to grow and improve. And finally, focusing on a balance is more helpful. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because I definitely do personally experience high standards and setting myself those high standards with pretty much everything I do. So relationships and friendships, but more specifically probably work and my side hustles, so photography, YouTube, etc. And I think that it was quite good this morning to just kind of reflect on those high standards and realise that, as I said, you can't be productive 24/7. I definitely try to be productive 24/7, and then all that does is result in me getting burnt out. And I had an interview as well with Imogen Dahl, who's the author of Burnout Survival Kit, which is a really, really helpful little kind of pocket-sized guide to when you're feeling burnt out with your job and with life in general. Unconsciously, over time, I set myself these really high standards, and then if I do meet them, I'm like, great, and then I set myself an even higher standard. And if I don't meet the one in the first place, I get bummed out and I beat myself up about it. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, and it's definitely something that people with my kind of personality tend to do a lot. A lot of it I think comes internally, so outwardly I can think, oh, it doesn't matter, but internally I'm probably beating myself up about it, that whatever it is, I haven't achieved it, or I haven't achieved it to the standard that I want. It was kind of good here to just acknowledge that that is something that I do, and that is something that I still do now. Also important that I kind of like did that example there, like feeling the need to constantly doing well and realising that the key fear is just not feeling like I'm enough. Therefore, that's my kind of key fear. And another way, like a more helpful way of looking at it, is just reminding myself that just being enough is enough, and just what I'm doing already is enough. Like, I have a full-time job, I have friends and family, I'm doing as much as I can, and that's enough. What else did I say? And yeah, and then about like having a balance as well, because that's really important. And I showed on here before, I did a kind of pie chart about having a balanced life. So initially I did a first pie chart on what my ideal kind of balanced life would look like, and I've split it up into like family and friends, work and career, fun, mental health, and then I did a separate pie chart onto what my life actually looks like now. And I could see that actually work and career was taking over a lot of my kind of time and my mental space. So the outcome of that exercise was just visually realising that I need to spend more time with family and weekends away like this where I'm focusing on my mental health, doing practical mindfulness. So I don't know if you guys can relate. Maybe you set yourself really high standards as well. I'd love to know like what you kind of do to help that. I think for me, it's just that kind of reassurance in my mind. As I said, outwardly people can say, you know, you're doing fine, and I can be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But internally, I think I just need to have that constant repetition of dialogue that what I'm doing is enough, this is enough. Like, don't compare yourself to other people is definitely something that I need to remind myself, because that's when I set myself really high standards. because, for example, with me doing YouTube, I constantly compare myself to people that have thousands of subscribers and that get hundreds of thousands of views all the time. And then I had to sort of realise today that actually a lot of those people have been doing YouTube for years, and I've literally not even been doing it for a single year yet. So I just had to kind of remind myself that what I'm doing is enough. Stop setting myself higher expectations. Again, it's kind of easier said than done. Again, I'm going to repeat it for my sake and for your sake, that what you're doing is enough. What you're doing is enough. I just want to come back to the point I made about like mistakes and failed expectations and standards as well, because that's definitely something that sets me back a lot, is when I make a mistake, say with YouTube specifically, as I've been talking about, that if a video doesn't perform as well, I tend to beat myself up about that and take it personally, rather than realising that actually that's a learning curve and that can help me grow with what to do in future and what not to do in future. It's such a cliche, but like learning from your mistakes, and that's part of kind of having that standard and that work-life balance, that you don't have to constantly be succeeding all the time. You don't have to be doing 100% and achieving all the time. Like, what you're doing is enough. If you make a mistake, okay, that's a stepping stone to getting to where you want to be, but without having to, like, as I said, like, you can still achieve things without that presence of high expectations. You can just set the bar for yourself really, really low, and once you achieve something, then you're going to feel even more like you've smashed it. I'd love to know if you guys want to see more of these types of videos, so me talking about like mental well-being, because it's something that I am so passionate about, and I would love to do this. I said before, like years ago, to my mum that I would love to get up and be like public speaking about mental well-being, because I do think it's so important, and from personal lived experience as well, I know that if it gets to a certain point where I've not been treating myself well mentally and I get burnt out and then I'm incapable of doing anything, it's definitely something that we all need to be doing, whether you have like a kind of high tolerance to stress or a low tolerance to stress, any kind of external factors that might affect your well-being. I think it's something that we all need to focus on, I guess. It's something that we all need to be taking care of ourselves and looking after each other. So yeah, I'd love to know if you like these kind of videos, or if you'd rather me stick to just kind of like the publishing content. As I said, I would personally like to do like a mix of both, so that you're getting the best of both worlds. I was considering starting another YouTube channel for this kind of stuff, but I'd rather just keep it sort of all in one place, and I already have you guys supporting me, so thank you so much, and hopefully see you in my next one.